Hi everyone, welcome. I hope that you can hear and see me perfectly well. If you can't, then feel free to chat something to me. I'll be checking that periodically, so if you have a question or a comment, feel free to type that in. You'll see if you're on the live broadcast, if you're not watching the recording, then you'll see there's a little box that has all the people viewing right now live. It has a chat pane where you'll see what we've all been chatting so far, and then there's a little box at the bottom that you can use to type in your question or comment, and then click the send button. And that'll go to me. If you haven't created a Ustream account, it'll ask you to log in or to create a free account. So you can do that. It's very easy and free, of course. So other than that, I'll wait for just a second if someone can type in to me that they can indeed see and hear, just so I know that we're all on the same page and that we're starting out on the right foot. So just a quick yes or sounds good. Okay, thank you so much. So let's get started. This is our free introduction to success and happiness. And this is based on a course called Akash, and it stands for Ancient Keys to Attaining Success and Happiness. This is a course that was written by Swami Kriyananda, who is a direct disciple of Paramhansa Yogananda. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to share this with you, this free introduction, and hope that you'll stay through to the end and consider taking the full course on Akash if you haven't done so already, or if you have, to renew your efforts through those studies, because what I've found is that going through the course, each time I get to teach one of these class series, I get to go deeper and deeper into them and practice the exercises again that Swamiji gives at the end of each lesson, and they really deepen every aspect of my life. It's a very integrated course that not only will take you deeper in your spiritual life, but it'll help you in every aspect of life. It's a very practical course. You learn how to deal with all aspects of life, to integrate your work life, your family life, and your spiritual life. So for the first time, if you've been with me on these Ustream broadcasts before, you know that usually it's just the audio video aspect. So what I found out is that I can actually use more than that. There's a great element of Ustream to be able to pull in things from my computer. So I'm going to attempt to use a PowerPoint presentation, and all those watching on the recording will hopefully not have any problem seeing that as well. And what I'd like to do also is to send this to you after the broadcast so you can have it for your own use as well. So bear with me as I pull this up. So of course, again, this is the free intro to success and happiness. This is offered by Yogananda Institute, which is a relatively new organization that we started. It offers, its main focus is the Akash lessons, as well as the full 26 lesson course that is called Life Therapy now. It used to be called Material Success Through Yogic Principles. So what is the course? Akash, as I mentioned, is Ancient Keys to Attaining Success and Happiness. And it was created by Swami Kriyananda, who you see here in this slide. And Swamiji is not only a direct and close disciple to the great Indian saint Paramhansa Yogananda, he also founded Ananda, which is it includes 9 spiritual communities throughout the world, including where I am, broadcasting to you from Ananda, Los Angeles. And he originally created, I mentioned to you, the 26 lessons called Life Therapy. And these 26 lessons he created while he was in India in around 2005. And it's an interesting story that he enjoys telling, that when he was in India, he got very ill. He was in the hospital with double pneumonia and really felt like he was on his deathbed. And interestingly enough, as he was lying there, the doctor came in and said, "Sir, can you help me?" And he said, "I didn't at all expect to hear those words coming from my doctor." And so he said to him, I'll certainly try. And the doctor proceeded to tell him his story, that he had a son going through college in Canada, that he had many bills and expenses, and would it be okay to even just bend the truth just a little bit, just to get ahead, just to make ends meet? And Swamiji's reply was just very direct, very straightforward. Of course, everything that I've experienced with Swamiji always comes from a place of love and kindness and compassion. And he said to the doctor that through his experience, which has been quite a lot. He's now 86 years old, and like I said, founded 9 spiritual communities, written over 100 books. He's composed over 400 pieces of music. He's gone through tremendous adversity, and he said, by strictly adhering to Dharma, to right action, he's found complete success in his life. So after that, he said that the doctor left probably feeling unconvinced because he wasn't such a shining example of success. But the day after that, he began writing these lessons, these 26 lessons on success and happiness. And he really put his heart and soul into these lessons, and you feel it. The principles that are taught in Akash and in the full 26 lessons are very simple, very straightforward, but they're profound and they're very powerful, and we can really make it a deep spiritual practice when we study them. So then Akash, so skipping forward about 5 years, Swamiji came to Los Angeles in 2010, and he stayed with us here for about 6 months, and he said, what can I share with the people of Los Angeles? When I was here before, I went around city to city and taught yoga and meditation, and people were so receptive and needed it so much at that time. That was really how he was able to found Ananda Village. And everyone kind of said to him, "Sir, that's wonderful, but yoga the market is saturated. There's a yoga studio on every corner. I don't know that we'd have the same response." And so he said, "Okay, well, what do the people of Los Angeles really need right now?" And what he came up with was the success and happiness lessons. And he said, let me condense it into a 6-week series, and that is where Akash came from. And so he taught that series in Los Angeles and to several hundred people at that time. And he said the reason that he really felt to share these teachings, these ancient teachings on success and happiness, is especially at this time because of the economic troubles that we're going through in our world. And I wouldn't say they're getting better. I'd say, that we're going into a very difficult time. And more, especially being in the healing field, I hear more and more stories about people having such a tremendously difficult time financially, especially financially, but also it keeps coming up that people want to go deeper spiritually, because we're in an ascending age, an age of energy, and more people are being called to something deeper. Why is it that I don't feel fulfilled in what has always worked for me before? And so there's that deep longing to go deeper into our spiritual path. And this course helps do that. It helps, while at the same time not forsaking or forgetting all of our other duties in life, our responsibility to our families, to our friends, to our jobs, all these things. And we can go deeper in any job that we are pursuing. This course also helps us to really tune into what is our dharma, what is our purpose in life, what do we feel called to do, and to discern whether what we feel called to do is really what's going to help us to go deeper in our spiritual life, in our wisdom and understanding. So those are the who, when, where, and why. I want to just now give you a brief overview of the lessons that are covered in Akash. There are, as I mentioned, 6 lessons, and each one is very powerful. And I just want to emphasize again, and I hope it's not overemphasizing, but just how special it is that these lessons came from Swami Kriyananda, from someone who really, in my opinion, is without ego and really has tuned in from a place of, if you want to call it, self-realization. There really aren't many filters left, if any. And so when you get a lesson, get a class from someone like that, there's a lot of power in it. There's a lot of grace that comes through practicing the lessons. And we get to go deeper and deeper into those lessons and make them our own. And so that's what I try to do also in each of the lessons during the course, is to share them in such a way that it's more and more relevant for our day-to-day lives and what's happening in the world. And also Swamiji asked us to expand upon these lessons, not that they just kind of sit and stagnate. He said, take these lessons and make them your own, expand upon the lessons. So we're adding all kinds of exciting things to the lessons, like we're adding yoga postures. There's now music. Swami's music is now, there's a song for each lesson. I'm going to try to play one of those songs for you at the end of the broadcast, so hopefully that'll work out. And also artwork. There's just so many talented people at Ananda, and so drawing on all these different people and how they can share through these lessons. So it'll just continually go deeper, get better and better as we go. So lesson 1 is on honesty, truthfulness, integrity. And on the surface, these can seem maybe overly simple. Of course we want to be honest. Of course we want to be truthful. But there are, as maybe you've noticed, as I have, there are different levels of this. So really we learn to be honest with ourselves, to be honest with how we feel to move forward. We also learn in that first lesson about how to tune into right action in everything that we're doing. And I'd like to actually walk us through this practice together. So I'm going to switch back real quick to the video. And hopefully you'll be able to see me now. So I'd like for us to all sit up straight for a moment, close your eyes, have your hands resting palms upward on between your thighs and abdomen there, or on your knees, wherever they're comfortable, but make sure that your chest is nice and open. Helps to release any tension around the heart. Let's take a double breath in through the nose and tense the whole body. Tense. Exhale through the mouth and relax completely. Let's do that again. Inhale. Tense. Throw the breath out and relax. One more time. Tense all over and relax completely. And now allow the breath to flow in and out naturally. We're going to also practice a very simple pranayama or energy control, breath control technique. And this is called regular breathing. So we'll inhale, hold, and exhale for the same count. All this breathing is going to be through the nose. So we'll do a couple of rounds together and then a couple on your own. So if you can't keep the pace, you can either shorten or lengthen your breath, just being sure to keep that same count between the inhale, hold, and exhale. So let's start together. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. And now on your own, inhaling and holding and exhaling for the same count, whatever's comfortable for you. Do a couple of rounds. And when you're done with your last exhalation, just allow the breath to flow in and out naturally, not controlling it in any way. Bring your focus and awareness to the point between the eyebrows, which is the spiritual eye, or the third eye, or the Christ consciousness. Feel as if you're looking up and out at a distant mountain peak. So the gaze is just gently uplifted. You're not straining. Feel that that point is a magnet, drawing the energy up your spine to that point. Again, allowing the breath to flow naturally. Feel an inward smile on your face. Doesn't have to be outward. But feel that through that focus up, you're drawing the energy up, you're drawing your consciousness up. You're tuning in more and more deeply to joy, to abundance, to the divine in whatever form you feel most drawn to, maybe as your higher self, as Divine Mother, or any of the great masters. Yogananda said that the point between the eyebrows is our broadcasting station. It's where we can send out prayers, we can send out our soul call, whatever that might be. If we are looking for the right path in something, whatever it might be, that's where we can broadcast our desire. Think of it like a radio station. We're tuning and we're sending it out on our radio waves through the spiritual eye. And he called the heart center, now shifting your focus from the spiritual eye down to the heart chakra in the center of your chest. He called that point our receiving station. It's where we can tune in to the answer to our prayers, the answer to what direction we're supposed to be going in. So we're going to do a little exercise together, keeping that inner focus, shifting your gaze now back to the spiritual eye. Bring to mind and bring to that point some question that you might have, some issue that you need direction on. Maybe there's a fork in the road in your life and you're not sure what direction to go in at this time. Maybe some question about your job or about your relationships, whatever it might be. Try to get very clear on the possible directions you could go in. Hopefully it's maybe it's a yes or no question, something that'll be easier. We want to, of course, tune into intuition and rely on our intuition completely, but we want to set realistic goals and to think of the intuition as a muscle that we have to develop, that we have to strengthen. Maybe we haven't used our intuition all that much, and maybe we haven't relied on it enough. Maybe we've heard that little inner whisper and said, I don't know about that. I'm gonna go with my reasoning faculty instead. And then that whisper gets more and more quiet. So we have to really work on exercising that intuition muscle. So Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda said, start with the little things. Start with the easy questions and then work your way up. But especially for this meditation, let's bring to mind whatever is just deeply on your mind and offer it up at the spiritual eye. Think of now one of those directions you might possibly take and see that very clearly in your mind. And then after you have it there, feel in the heart. And what we're feeling for in particular during this exercise is, do I feel calmness? Do I feel joyful? Do I feel expansive in this direction, in this decision? Or does my heart maybe feel uneasy or restless or contractive? Try to feel now for that in the heart. How does the heart feel when you bring to mind that certain direction that you could go in? We're working again with very subtle energy, so don't worry if you don't feel anything in the heart. Just know that the more and more you practice this exercise, the more you'll be able to tune into the heart. And now, of course, bringing up the other direction you could possibly go in. That's another way to deepen the feelings in the heart. Bring up the other possible direction you could go in at the spiritual eye again, broadcasting it out, and then feeling in the heart. Is there any difference in those two feelings, those two directions? Maybe one, the heart feels like it might be beating harder or faster. And that can be tuning into the sense of restlessness or uneasiness. If you feel that the heart just relaxes, that's the direction you want to go in. That's the intuition saying yes. Just sit for another moment or two. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So I hope you enjoyed that exercise. And as I said, it's not an easy thing to tune into, our intuition, but we want to get to the point, and we do get to the point through these exercises, to be able to tune in a moment's notice and say, yes, this is the right thing for me to do. We can get to the point where there's almost this constant dialogue between the spiritual eye and the heart, going, is this the direction I should go in? Should I go to the store? You know, just the easy things, as I mentioned. Should I take this freeway? Being in LA, that can be a good question to ask. And to get quick and easy answers, just to stop for just a moment and tune into the heart, tune into the spiritual eye, and then go from that place of calmness and understanding, deeper understanding. So looks like someone enjoyed the exercise, so thank you. And so this is something that we can practice, of course, in our daily lives all the time. I'm going to pull back up the presentation here. So again, that was really just from the first lesson, the introduction and the first lesson. We really tune into intuition, and of course we're tuning in excuse me, throughout the entire course. We're tuning into right action. And really, Akash, these 6 lessons are based on the first 2 lessons of Swamiji's 26 lessons that I mentioned before, the lessons on success and happiness. So they're just very condensed and very powerful. We also learned that through the practice of perfect truthfulness, there are certain cities or powers that are connected to many of these qualities. And for truthfulness, there's the power when we practice perfect truthfulness, and I mean in everything. And truthfulness, we don't want to mix it up with facts, giving the facts, because truth is helpful in every way. Excuse me, very close to Highland Avenue. But truthfulness, as I said, is helpful to everyone. And so, for example, if you went to the hospital to visit your friend who had just been suffering from maybe double pneumonia, it wouldn't be helpful to say, "God, you look terrible," but to instead, coming from a place of truthfulness and tuning into that person's soul nature, to say, I can see the light inside of you, or just finding something that can be helpful and uplifting. That's the deepest essence, the deepest path of truthfulness. So we want to tune into that. And integrity, Swamiji mentions integrity as being fully integrated. And I thought that was such a powerful statement to really think of, am I bringing my spiritual life into every aspect of my life? Or am I maybe having a meditation in the morning, and then as soon as I leave, it's okay, down to business, and maybe there's a lack of kindness to our family or to our coworkers, or there's just a lack of integration. We're not bringing our spirituality into every facet of our life. So that's what the lesson on integrity really helps us to tune into. Now in kindness, so there's a really neat progression through these lessons. And I noticed that in lesson 1, as we did in that meditation, we are learning more and more to tune into the heart. We're learning to really say, what's going on in there? And in lesson 2 on kindness, we're learning to open the heart more fully. And we can all do this continually. It's such a great practice to say, where am I maybe blocking myself off? Where am I lacking in kindness? Maybe it's easier a lot of times to be kind to perfect strangers. And so maybe what we need to focus on in this lesson is practicing kindness to those closest to us, because many times that can be the most difficult time to practice kindness, is those that we know the best, those that we feel are closest to us. And maybe it's learning to practice true kindness to ourselves. Maybe there's some aspect of our lives where we don't treat ourselves with kindness, maybe through our diet, maybe through exercise, maybe through meditation. Maybe we're not practicing as much as we'd like to. And so this lesson really helps us to go deeper into those aspects. And as I mentioned, there's an exercise at the end of each of these lessons, and they are so wonderful. I mean, I know that's not very descriptive, but they really help us to tune into the lesson, the topic for that lesson. So when we practice kindness, we one of the exercises is to be the first to smile whenever we see someone, even if it's just walking down the street or checking out at the grocery store, whatever it might be, just being the first one to smile. And in that way, we're not only opening the heart more fully, we're expanding our reality. We're taking other people into consideration, and in that way we're really tuning into the qualities of love and compassion, of empathy. We learn to become more empathetic to and really the deepest aspect of these lessons is to transcend the ego. We're not trying to destroy the ego. We're trying to expand our limited self-awareness into a greater self-awareness. And in that we learn that all is one. We know this, but we really experience it. We really feel it. So moving on to lesson 3 is non-attachment. In this lesson, we're really tuning in again to the heart, and we're clearing away anything that might be holding us back, anything that is keeping us stuck. And this can come in the form of attachment to our loved ones. And really, when you think of attachment, it's not saying, I love that person, or I love that car, or I love my house. It's putting those things or those people into boxes, and it's saying, I love you if you do such and such. And maybe I don't love you quite as much if you don't do what I'd like for you to do. So really, it's not divine love. It might be we might consider it a form of human love or conditional love, but when we are truly non-attached, we're tuning into the deepest form of love, into divine love. And in that place, we can offer everything up to the divine and say, I know that happiness comes from within me, that I know from experience that the more things I acquire aren't making me happy. I maybe feel happiness for a few moments, but it's a fleeting happiness. It's a fleeting success. And so we really want to more and more know and experience that our happiness comes from within ourselves. Our true natures are joy. Our true nature is bliss. And so when we go inside, that's what we tune into. The more and more we go inward into that depth of spirit. And I hope